All right, thanks everybody for joining us today. This is the Accelatis Essentials course, and today we're going to go over change audit tracking. We're going to talk about how to configure change audit tracking and how to schedule it, and a little bit on how to report and read the data. And I understand that this subject certainly could go way longer than 15 minutes, but I'm going to try to get through it and just give everybody a nice overview of the module, give you enough information to go in and get stuff done. This is a 15-minute long session, so we're not going to focus on much else. We're going to try to keep it very specific to configuring the audit module, and no Q&A session afterwards, but you're always welcome to email us and let us know what you think. If you have any follow-up questions, always let us know and we'll get those answered for you. So the auditing module may look different depending on what version of Accelatis you're running. I'm showing you the 4.0 version. So you can see this name is going to be intermixed with some other terminology, change audit tracking or SOX activation or SOX. You'll see it called all kinds of things, but we like to refer to it as auditing, so it kind of covers everything. And in version 4.0, you can see at the bottom there I've got a little screenshot of what's available, and I've bullet pointed those things out. So the available things to audit, you can read them on the screen: HFM rules, member lists, metadata, group security, reports definitions, Essbase outlines and calc scripts, FDM application scripts, provisioning for Oracle, also provisioning for Accelatis, and then a bunch of Windows stuff, security policy, machine admins. You can keep track of who is on that list of machine admins, registry, and Windows folders. And then also coming in 4.1, I want to mention that we are going to have the ability to audit planning calc scripts. We can't do that right now with the version that I have in front of me, and then of course with the version you have in front of you. But if you're on 4.1, that is an option, and you do have the ability to do that. Now, as far as configuring auditing goes, all of the configurations are going to be held in the plugin config for the main Accelatis configuration. So if you open up the Launch Accelatis Configure or Ascension Configure on your server, and you navigate over to the plugins screen, that's where most of this stuff is going to be. So for all of the HFM stuff, it's configured via the HFM plugin, and it's based on the HFM database connection and the applications that you choose in there. So you're going to see this theme for all of the configurations. Generally speaking, whatever you pick to monitor with Accelatis, whether it be HFM apps, Essbase apps, or that sort of thing, that's what we can expose for auditing, right? So reports definitions, if you have the report module configured, there's a place at the bottom to put the database connection in, and then point it to your RM1 root directory. And again, it makes sense that that's the way we go out and we poll for the information in order to see what has changed. The one thing I wanted to mention on here is for reports, we don't report on folder changes, and we've had that question asked a couple of times, and that's something that we might do in the future, but for right now we just do the reports themselves and the changes, not necessarily the folder structure and if anything has changed there. And we're going to go through all of this stuff. I'll flip through the PowerPoint quickly so that way we can show you the live tool. I think it makes a lot more sense when you're looking at it. So if you look at the UI toolbar up at the top, the controls from left to right, we have a refresh control, which really just refreshes after you make a change, maybe in the date range that you're looking or the time range. You can hit that refresh button and it'll refresh the screen. The little pencil icon is just to add comments to whatever line is highlighted. The next control means that when you're displaying changes, do you want to see the entire file or do you want to see just the changes? In some cases, the entire file, let's say for an Essbase outline, might be gigantic, right? And even though we have it, you may only care about the changes. So keep that in mind, that you can toggle back and forth between full file or just changes. Next two buttons is expand or collapse everything. When you start putting this in place, especially in a production system that sees some changes, you're going to see this screen fill up pretty quickly. So you can, at the top, quickly expand or collapse everything. The next icon is the little guy with the yellow shirt and the wrench, and that's where you're going to go to add or manage all your auditing enablements. The next icon over is to compare files. I'll show you that live. And basically, if you have a check mark next to two different samples of something, that you can compare them side by side and see what the changes and differences are. And the last one is create a report. So on the fly, you can look at this screen and say, geez, I want to a report on this, and it'll just give a nice formatted report that you can email, or you can have it held in the repository to send around later, however you wish. But you can do all that right from the UI. And below that, of course, is your date range. You can see on the screen here it says last 30 days, but there's a bunch of options there to pick, so you can get specific with what range you want to see changes for. Now, when you click on the guy with the yellow shirt and the wrench, that will open up your manage or add audit check screen. And once that's open, you could see all of the things that you have to pick from. And then if you choose to enable one of those audits, you will get this screen that pops up, and it talks about scheduling. In some older versions, you don't really have this flexibility. It checks every 24 hours for changes here, so the transparency there was you know, the route that we thought would be best for people. But we found that people do want to get more focused. They might want to check more often. They want to have more control over when that check happens. So now, when you go into it with our newer interface, you can get very specific on when you want that audit to run. And if you look at the scheduling options, we have a bunch of stuff. The default means every 3 minutes. You can go hourly, daily, which would mean, you know, 7 days a week or every weekday. You can run it weekly. Let's say you want to run it on Fridays at some time. You can do that. And then on the monthly tab, there's a whole bunch of options. You can run it on a number, a day number, like first day, second day of the month. You can run it on the first or third or fourth Wednesday. I mean, again, the options are all there for you to pick what works best for your close schedule for your company. So make sure that you choose those wisely. Some of these jobs do take a little bit of time. If you think about the example of an Essbase outline, where we actually have to do the extract in order to do this SOX comparison or the audit comparison. So it's going to take some time, and keep that in mind when you schedule these things. Always best to do it at an off type of time. Okay, so I'm going to just do a quick demonstration here. And again, I think this is the best way, especially with this tool, to show you guys all about the auditing. So here's my change audit screen. Now, I have activated just about everything I possibly could activate here, and not everything has changes. This is my little sandbox environment. But if you see here, after I open up my change audit tracking module, right, I'll follow over here and I hit the guy with the yellow shirt and the wrench, and that will get me this screen. Now, from this screen, I could see everything that I have activated with regards to my auditing. I could see if there's an alert level set. I could see what the schedule is. I could see when the last check was, and I can also see when the next check is going to happen, right? So if there's any question of, hey, did this run yet? I can go right down the line, and I could see all of this information pretty easily, right? And if I wanted to make a change to one of these, and let's just take this one for instance, I've got this Windows registry check that's running every 10 minutes. There's no alert associated with it, but if I want to make a change to this, what I actually have to do is I put a check mark next to it. I will have to pull it back to the left and go back under Windows registry, and it's almost like I'm adding it new in order to make these changes. Now, before I had it checking pretty quickly, but now I say, well, you know, I really only need to check the registry once a week, right? I want to check it on Saturday, and I want it to happen at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? And if there is a change, maybe I want to send out a Sev1 alert, right? So I can make all these changes, and once I set that up, you can see that it throws it back into this list. And I can see my changes. It has not checked, but it knows that the next time it's going to check is 3 o'clock in the morning this coming Saturday. I can see my alert level is 1. Once I have it in here, I do need to click the Set Activation button in order to make it stick, and I get my little pop-up window saying that the change is complete. If you're not sure if you made a change or not, or you're not sure if you clicked the button, if you click it again, it'll just tell you that there's no changes to save, so you know everything is active and set in here. Okay. So that's the way you would activate these things. And again, as you drill down into the different areas, you'll see your applications and your cubes and all those sorts of things. Again, this is a super simple layout that I have here. But I did make a couple of changes down here just so I can demonstrate some of the things that you can do in the change audit tracking module. In this case, I've got my Oracle EPM Provisioning set up. And you can see that it took a baseline last night. So I know that this is my starting point, right? It needs something to compare against. So once I set it up in the enablement, it does a baseline, and now it has something to compare. And you can see here that 7 o'clock this morning, it does have a change in here. And if I were to double click on this, it opens up this screen here, which is very similar to the file comparison that we can do. But you automatically see that over on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of red space, and on the right-hand side, a bunch of green space. So this is my old file on the left, my new one on the right, and it's very specific. It shows me, hey, these changes happened. In the green, obviously, these are brand new things, and on the other side, like I said, the red, there's old stuff. Now, if you are working with something maybe where a value has changed, if you were to click on a line, if you notice underneath here, it actually shows you old and new right on top of each other. So if you wanted to see something very specific, you can click on a line, and it doesn't matter where the position is, right? Whatever you're clicking on, it understands, oh, this is, he's talking about line 15. So those are comparisons that you can make here. Now, I can also put comments in here, which is fairly important, right? It does want some kind of a reference number in case you have a ticketing system internally, but if you don't, you just put a 0 up there and that's fine. And I could put the comment in here, Chuck added a user, right? And once I hit apply, because all of my changes have now been added with a comment, this icon turns to a green check mark, okay? And once you get used to this, again, the blue icon here means that nothing has been added as far as comments, but when you see a green check, it means, oh, somebody must have made a comment on that. And even as far as this main line goes, I can now come up here and use my add comments button, right? And if I were to add a comment, again, I could put it up here, do whatever, and get them in there. I want to show you as well that if I select two files and I go to the compare files, again, it's a very similar looking screen. It doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles as far as the adding comments and stuff like that, but it will show me the files and how I'm comparing them. Now, if you notice on the bottom, I don't know how fast the WebEx is, but it's showing me line by line that it's comparing a bunch of lines. So I saw that I had 2,000 lines in there, which is quite a bit. So it took it a while to fill it in and compare it. But from here, I can go down the list, and again, without all the bells and whistles of what you saw on the other screen, I do get some indication here that there's something different. If I want to see what's different on the other side, again, I could just highlight that row on the old file, and it jumps right to the line and says, yeah, hey, this is brand new, right? So I could see pretty quickly without too much trouble what's going on. You can save the comparison to a text file, just in case you need to do some massaging with it or you want to see what's going on there. So you can certainly do that. And then the last thing I want to show you is that you can also create a report. So if I were to click on the SOX report, it brings up my SOX report screen, and I could pick whatever I want. In this case, I'm working with EPM Provisioning, right? So I could just pick that. I could pick my date range that I'm looking for, you know, depending on what it is, and then go through the whole process of, you know, sending an email or doing whatever. But just know that you can do that right from this module, okay? And then I want to flip down here too to show you that if you change the time, hit the refresh, suddenly my screen gets a lot less cluttered, right? So I'm only looking at changes that that I've noticed in the last 2 hours, right? So as I move this window up, and I don't remember when I did the changes, but you'll see more and more things appear, right? So that's changes in the last 12 hours. Changes in the last 24 hours, I think, is going to include everything. But again, this is a good way to see what's going on. Now, like I told you before, this screen could get pretty busy as far as how much stuff you have in here. And you can always use your expand and collapse here in case it gets so busy that you're really not sure, okay, I just want to see Oracle EPM Provisioning, you know, and then from here you can just expand that one section in order to keep this easy and readable. And I think that's all I've got. Oh, I wanted to show you this too. this full file comparison, right? So this just tells you when you do the file compare, do you want to show the full file or do you want to show just changes? So in this case, if I double click on Essbase calc scripts, it's going to show me the entire calc script as opposed to just the changes. If I click on, let's say, an HFM rules change, it's only going to show me the changes. And again, keep in mind that showing the full file does get pretty busy. It becomes an expensive operation if you've got these huge outlines or these huge things going on. So keep that in mind. That'll help you be more efficient as far as the auditing module goes. And I think that's all I've got time to show you. Again, I could have spent hours on this same subject, but the reality is that I think that's enough to get you going. You can click in there. You can start tracking your changes, double click when you see those lines and it'll bring up that little UI. Definitely urge you to take a look at that because it's a powerful tool and powerful part of the suite that you can use for all kinds of stuff. The next session we're going to do is alerting rules, how to set them up and how to choose an alerting strategy that's right for your company. So out of the box, normally we only have like a Step 1, Step 5 selected. I'm going to show you some different strategies and ways to set up alerting, which may work well for you, but again, just give you a nice feel for how you set these things up and really what they're used for. Thanks for attending. As always, we're always looking for your questions and feedback. You can email me directly or you can email the support mailbox. Email addresses are on the screen. Thanks so much for attending. Have a great day, everybody.